So that was step number 7. Couple of steps left. The next one, 8, looking at your internal structure. Bylaws are key here.
Absolutely. So the next thing that you're going to have to do is you have this first board meeting, and shortly thereafter you'll need to have your first assembly, general assembly, bringing together your members. Now, people do this in different ways. Sometimes that small little general assembly is just follows the board meeting. So it's a very simple, small little procedure. And sometimes people really want to engage as much of the membership as possible, and they'll bring a lot of people together. At that meeting, you're going to have a proposed bylaws. So you're going, where am I going to get these bylaws? In the info sheet, you'll find links to some sample bylaws, and you can begin to adjust them to your own reality as an organization. I like to call your bylaws like your living law, your document, or your constitution that sort of tells how your little mini state is going to function that you're founding.
Yeah. So really important stuff in there in terms of how do you define who your membership is, what level of decision making the membership has, and there's some legal provincial law regulations around that also, but you get a lot to say about what your members can decide, what your board decides, allocating responsibilities to staff. You can detail all of that, how you're going to run your annual general meetings. A lot of those very basic rules about board functioning are in the bylaws. So check that section out. And the other thing is to really check that by some other people. Working with some people who are already in a not-for-profit and getting a sense of which bylaws make the most sense.
Absolutely. And that's really this balancing act where you want to make sure to create bylaws that speak to your reality as an organization and that are sustainable in the long term. And then realizing that you also just got to throw something up and set it up, and that over time it's a living document, and you do through the agreement of your membership have the right to change those bylaws over time.
Yeah. So usually in the bylaws there is something about to change the bylaws, what's the procedure to take it to the members to change it. To change your lettre patente, which is a much more fundamental document, it goes beyond your members. You really have to go to the provincial government to do it. So we've had this board of 3 people that got set up.
Right.
They're starting work to be done on the bylaws. Then you're putting in place a members meeting.
Absolutely.
Getting your bylaws approved. You have to do things like getting signing officers. And then you got to elect a new board, which if you said in your bylaws is more than 3 people, that means you've got to start pulling more people into the organization.
Absolutely. And that's an exciting time when you start engaging people even more in your organization.
Yeah. So that's the internal structure. The 9th step.
Right. So you'll have this thing that's called a déclaration initiale, and I always say the French term because most of the correspondence you'll have will be in French, but the translation is the initial declaration. And there you'll have to, within 60 days, fill in a form that's been sent to you that says basically who your new board is, describes a couple of details about who's working for you, how many people do you have working for you, and a couple of other things like that. Yeah. So that's a very important bureaucratic step as well.
Yeah. And you can take longer than 60 days, but then you have to pay.
Exactly.
So you might as well do it within the 60 days and start putting in place good work practices for that kind of thing. And then the last one is really important. You have bylaws that governs the organization, so you need to follow those. And you need to also follow provincial law, which is the yearly declaration.
Absolutely.
And the government's going to send it to you.
They're going to send it to you. Every once in a while, you're one of the unlucky folks who aren't on their list. And so it's the kind of habit that you want to develop as an organization to go, hey, we haven't gotten one of those in a long time. And there's actually a mechanism where you can go online and see, are you up to date? Who are your board members according to the Quebec government? And then you can submit and change it. And we talk a little bit about how to do that in the info sheet. It's actually a really fun thing where you can search for all of your favorite community organizations and see what they're up to, as well as businesses.
Fun if you're a lawyer, right?
I do have a strange idea of fun.
So, and then of course other responsibilities fall in. If you start having staff, you need to start thinking about contracts, CSST, taxes and all of that. But this section is really covered in corporations. I'm just wondering as we close up, is there anything else that we need to
I think we've just about covered it. I just really want to emphasize that here at COCO we're available for folks across Quebec. If you need more information, take a look at the info sheet as well. And if you feel like you need some clarification or you have questions, feel free to get in touch with us through email or by phone, and we have a toll-free number as well.
Great.
Great. Thanks so much.